Stubborn is as stubborn does, I guess. So today I'm going to tackle the cam in the Godzilla. Never worked on one of these before. Kind of a whole new deal. So I'll be pulling the timing cover off. I'll be doing a cam from Comp Cams. So I got a cam phaser lockout kit from them. So that's what this is. Comes with the socket that you need to get the cam bolt out and the tool to hold the phaser while you put the little lockout piece in. That's a little magic piece right there. New stuff there for me. And then the cam that I'm put in is that guy right there. Should run pretty good. I think with the way I'm going to run this, I don't need to replace the valve springs. It should make good power. So time to tear into this and learn what I don't know. Okay, after looking at the service manual, there's 2 more bolts. It look like they're water pump bolts, but they're not. That one and that one, they go all the way through. Now it'll probably pop off. Yay! Pretty easy actually. Got this timing cover off. It was really pretty quick, even with the time it took me to figure out why the cover wouldn't come off. It's these 2 bolts are the ones that I was missing. Once I got those out, it popped right off. Now you can kind of see what's going on in the front here. This is the cam phaser for doing the variable valve timing. And then this goofy setup right here, this is what runs the oil pump. So it's got a little chain that runs the oil pump. And it's got a jack shaft that runs towards the back of the motor. Yeah, that's kind of a weird setup. Not sure what you were thinking with that forward, but okay, we'll just roll with it. I'll need to get the timing marks lined up. Then I can lock this tensioner back into place, pop this guide off. Then I should be able to use the funny spline socket that Comp sent me to pull this bolt out. And then this whole cam phaser will come out as an assembly. But before I do any of that, I'm gonna stuff all of this down in here full of these clean rags, so keep any goo out from when I scrape the silicone off, or if I drop a bolt or something, it doesn't end up down in the bottom of the pan. So after I do that, I'll need to get the valve covers off and get the rockers off and stuff, so I can get the push rods out to be able to push those lifters up. Got the front of this motor tore down. Got the cam sprocket off, and it's right here. So Comp sends this bolt and nut to hold this assembly together. This tone wheel right here is apparently really easy to damage or to pop off the end of the sprocket, and if you do that, I don't know what would happen, but probably wouldn't be very much happiness. I'm just going to put it together like they recommend, and when I get the new cam in, then I'll pull this apart and put the lockout pieces inside of it. The next step is to get the valve covers off, but one of the things I like to do on these, because I like to cause work for myself sometimes, is these little pins that I put in to take the pressure off the spring. I like to put a nice big yellow piece of tape on it so I don't forget. Same thing with this timing chain tensioner, just to put that piece of tape on there. At least there's a half a chance that I'll remember to pull it off before I put the timing cover on. It's pretty easy to get distracted and forget those kinds of things, so it makes a lot of work and can damage a lot of parts. This has been a really easy job. It's almost like doing one on an engine stand. Doing this in a full assembled pickup would be quite a project, but on to the valve covers and get the rocker arms off and the push rods out. Everything look good in there then? Brand new. Okay, go. This looks awful well left, doesn't it? Like, without the rockers and stuff? The size of the push rods. Yeah, they're pretty stout. Mm-hmm. Well, I have this one valve cover off, and it does look a lot like an LS. The rockers look real similar, and the tips are a little different, but they look like really nice pieces though. The one thing that is different is push rods are way stouter than an LS push rod. These are probably close to 3/8 diameter push rods, where the LS ones are 5/16. So that's pretty nice. But the first thing that struck me is how tall those valve springs are. Those are huge. Those are probably a ½ inch taller than a LS or just about any other conventional engine valve spring. But it stands to reason these cams from the factory have about 600 thousandths lift right from the get-go, so putting tall valve springs would be really important to make them last with that much lift. This cam that I'm putting in doesn't really have any more lift than the factory one, so I'm just going to leave those valve springs alone. I'm going to set the rev limiter probably at like 5800 just to keep it together and not have to worry about any valve train issues or anything like that when I'm running it hard. I really like the way they've got this all set up here. I think it's going to hold up well. The other thing that's kind of interesting to note is where they put the injectors. Those are in the cylinder heads and they spray directly. I mean, that is a straight line right to the back of the intake valve. Most engines, they put the injector in the intake manifold right about there, and then that sprays into the valve, but they kept this distance quite short on these injectors and quite impressive. They kind of remind me of a old supercharged 3800. That was kind of the way they did the injectors on those. Kind of interesting. And the other thing I noticed is there's a lot of room in there. I think they set this up to be able to do direct injection at some point. So I'm going to look at the cam and see if they got the cam set up to where it could run a high pressure fuel pump. So I'm kind of interested to see that. And that would stand to reason because just about everybody else has gone direct injection on their engines. So I'll get this other side apart, spin the cam around a couple of times, push the lifters up, and we'll slide this cam out, see what it looks like.
When's the supercharger coming?
Don't know.
How many miles is this?
600.
This is a pretty new engine.
Yep, it's still a new engine.
So you might be breaking her in?
Oh, I'll definitely be breaking it in. If not breaking it. Been messing with this for the last couple hours, trying to get this cam out. Turns out that these Godzillas don't like to hold their lifters very bad. Sometimes the LSs will do it, but Godzillas seem to be really bad about it. So we tried some magnets trying to hold the lifters up, but I just don't trust it. It'd be a good way for a lifter to end up in the oil pan, and I'm not really in the mood for that. So my options were pull the motor out, turn it over, or pull the heads. Since you can get a pair of head gaskets and a set of HUD bolts from Ford Motorsports for like 150 bucks, it's not even worth messing with. I'm just going to pull the heads. They come off really easy. The intake manifold comes off really easy, so I'm just going to do that. I probably should have just done that in the beginning. It would have saved me quite a bit of time. In fact, I'd be going back together if I'd have just started with that. Oh well, stubborn is as stubborn does, I guess. So took me less than half an hour to get both the heads off. Lifter trays out, the lifters out, and there's really almost no cleanup work. The head gaskets are so new they didn't even stick to the head or the block, and the head gaskets still look new. I could probably reuse them if I wanted to, but I'm not gonna risk that. So, but now I can finally get to what I was originally set up to do before, was get this stupid cam out. It should fall right out now, and I'll get the new one in, get the lifters back in, probably get the front of the motor buttoned up, and then I'll just cover the top of the block with rags so it stays clean. When the head gaskets and head bolts show up, we'll get that all bolted back together too. Shouldn't be a big deal, just me being stubborn. I should have just done that in the first place. Yay! Yeah, pretty easy on the, don't have the lifters in your way. Should have just pulled the heads in the beginning. That'd be done. It's big, it's like big block Chevy or bigger.
I don't know. Might be
Way bigger than LS, that's
yeah,
for sure. It's kind of been one plot complication after another. Did get the cam in, got the cam phaser locked out with that Comp Cams kit. I didn't show that on video because it's kind of complicated and it was hard to video, so I just had to focus on that so we didn't lose all the parts in the whole shop. But there's a tool that goes in here so you can hold this phaser from spinning while you torque this bolt. Well, nobody has one. They're on back order till the end of February, so I just had to make one. Didn't have any choice, so this is just a piece of 1 5/8" tube, or 1 1/4" schedule 40 is what it actually is, but just turned out to be the right size. Got all these cut with a grinder, and it's not the prettiest, but it fits in there like so. Caveman that in there like so. My next caveman tool right there, the ugly pipe wrench to hold this in place. And I have this guy, not so caveman tool. Oop. Dropping everything here. And we're gonna go ahead, get this set. And we'll torque that bad boy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's tight. Okay. Whew. Okay, that worked. Ford doesn't really use like a dot to dot like the old days on this particular motor on timing marks. So what they do is they have these paint marks. So they have that paint mark right there that correlates with that dot. And down here, it's a little bit trickier. You have to loosen up the oil pump chain so you can see that mark right there, and then there's a paint mark that goes on either side of that tooth. So there'd be this tooth that lines up with that, and there's a paint mark on either side of that tooth. So those are your timing marks. But that is good. I've verified this like 6 times, so we should be good. Now I can pull that out, pop that. Okay, make sure my rag's not locked up in there. This is pretty well cleaned up now. Now I just need to clean up the timing cover, clean all the silicone off of this, re-silicone it, and bolt that bad boy in place. And at least that part of the job will be complete. Okay, it's been a couple of days. Got my head bolts and head gaskets from Ford. I never did get the timing cover put back on the other day. It took a long time to get all the silicone and stuff cleaned off of the timing cover. I scraped at it for an hour or two, and Caden worked on it for another hour or more after that, just trying to get all the silicone off of here. But it's all ready to go. I'm just gonna get these gaskets put back in, put a new bead of silicone on it, bolt it onto the motor. After that, I'll blow off the heads. They're sitting down there, covered up. And new head gaskets put on, and we'll get those heads set on, get the new head bolts torqued, and get this thing all buttoned up. Who'd have thought it was gonna be this big of a job, but oh well. As long as the outcome's good, that's all that matters. Okay, got this timing cover in. Got a couple bolts in it to snug it up to the block a little bit before the silicone skins over. But since it's been a few days, I can't remember exactly where the studs and stuff went in this timing cover. It's got a little bit of a variety of bolts that go in it. Thankfully, I was smart enough to take some pictures. I'm going to refer to this, finish bolting this up. That's the beauty of technology. You don't have to draw out diagrams. You don't have to poke holes in boxes or anything like that. Just snap a handful of pictures and save yourself some frustration. Well, I got the front of the motor put back together. Head's back on. I went through the first round of 90 degrees. That's what the little orange paint dot on the head bolts means. And on this side, I was going through the second round of 90 degrees. So that's what the spec is. First step's 22 foot-pounds. Second step, 44 foot-pounds. Third step, 74 foot-pounds. Fourth step, 90 degrees. Fifth step is another 90 degrees. Kind of standard stuff on torque to yield head bolts, but on the second round of 90 degrees, this one head bolt right there wasn't feeling very good. Felt real stretchy, so I pulled it out. The bolt looks okay, so I grabbed a used bolt that looked okay. I'm gonna put it in, and hopefully it was a bad bolt and not the bolt pulling the threads out of the block. So here's to hoping. Alright, there's 74 foot-pounds. Now let's see if it will take the first 90 degrees. Oh yeah, I think we're good. Now let's see if it'll take the second round of 90. Okay, I think that's it. Yay! The threads lived. Just every now and then you get a stretchy head bolt. Okay. Alright, those are good. Never a good feeling when you're torquing something and you're putting like 160, 170 pounds of torque on it, and all of a sudden the torque drops to 90 foot-pounds. So yeah, that's not a good feeling, but it was just a stretchy head bolt. I just reused one of the old ones and it held torque just fine, so that's what we're gonna go with. Now, on this driver's side, we'll torque all of those and hopefully without incident. So now that I have the heads on, I put the push rods and the rocker arms on, and I like to check the push rod length when I change a cam. So especially in something like this engine that doesn't have adjustable valve train, you need to be careful to make sure you have the right amount of preload on the lifters. Otherwise you can have issues with noisy valve train, or even the lifters wanting to pump up at higher engine speeds and hold the valves open. Just gonna check that real quick. So to do that, I'm gonna take all the slack out of it. So that's basically 0 right there. So it's not pushing the valve down and not pushing the plunger in the lifters. Now I'm gonna go and see how many turns it takes before the bolt bottoms out. So there's one full turn, and oh man, that's way too much. That's almost 2 full turns. I need closer to 1 full turn, so these push rods are too long. Let me double check this valve, make sure I don't have an outlier here that's doing something weird. Okay. And 1. Same thing, about 1 7/8 of a turn there. So I'll have to dig out the adjustable push rods so I can figure out the exact length these push rods need to be, and I'll have to get some push rods ordered. Sometimes that's just the cost of making more horsepower. So, well, that takes care of it for this week. Till next time, remember, don't pull tomorrow's clouds over today's sunshine. Thanks for watching.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Still eat lunch. Happy birthday, dear Chad. Happy birthday to you.
If I have emphysema, I can blow them out.
Give it a go.
Don't blow hot sauce all over it. Yeah, I want some of it.
Yeah. You better cover yourself.
Just made it, so.
There we go.
Ooh, that was
That's a nice looking cake right there.
Yeah, it is. It's just right.
What is the frosting?
Homemade.
It's homemade German chocolate cake. We made it last
The
one.
pecan, what is it?
It's
Yeah.
pecan and coconut.
Pecan.
Yeah, it's pecan. Yeah. So cake,
My
if
favorite.
you're gonna
I'm gonna
you better
eat
eat it now. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that's got coconut.
that's
It's
got
got
all
all
the
the
things.
things.
Yeah, it's got all the, yes, all the killers.
I
I've
haven't
never
had.
had homemade.
Oh,
Did you make the frosting from scratch? I've never had like from scratch.
She made it for me for my birthday a couple, like 2 years back, and ever since then, now she always has to make it for my birthday. But then
That's what I always get for my birthday, is German
German
chocolate.
chocolate.